Joining us now by phone is Bill Daley, former FBI special agent. Bill, great to talk to you. Bill, as you and I know, Comey was getting a lot of pushback from agents who'd been there for years, decades, who felt that an injustice had been done with his decision not to recommend an indictment here. Do you think that pushback had any effect on his decision today?
Well, David, that's, certainly that's kind of more crystal ball. I don't have any clarity on that. I can just tell you, though, that I believe that because he had a duty to report, he had to report this to Congress because of his earlier testimony, and because now of evidence that he states in that letter that he just became aware of that appears to be germane to the previous investigation. So, I think, as I said, kind of things probably lined up here properly so that he had to report it. It's the timing is something that It doesn't sound as though they chose. It just happened to come about as a result of the investigation.
But, Bill, you and I know a lot of people in the FBI, you much more than me, but the people that I know tell me that there really was an active disdain for his last decision to lay out the case, what appeared to be a credible case against Hillary, and then decide not to pull the trigger on it. Is that the feeling that you were getting from your old associates within the FBI?
Well, there's certainly some people in some camps that people, felt that way. But I would probably tell you is that, as an agency that, stands by its, credibility, and whether people like it or not, whatever his statements were there a couple of months ago, I think people believe that the FBI is going to do the right thing. I think this is an indication that that is the case. They're going to continue to investigate this. And, much like Greg just mentioned in the earlier interview, is that this is at a timeline that is not based upon the calendar of elections. It's based upon when they can get through the information, how much information is there, what other interviews need to take place. So, it's difficult to predict, but I would probably suggest to you that there was enough kind of, I'd say, compelling information that he then needed, or he felt as though was germane, and he felt important enough.
Bill, let me just ask you, what happens now? Let's push this forward. Do the same agents who investigated the whole email thing before get back fully engaged in trying to connect the dots between Anthony Weiner's emails and Hillary Clinton's emails and everything else, or did they hand it over to a grand jury, or what?
Oh, there certainly needs to be more investigation, and most likely the people who are familiar with the earlier email investigation will be brought into this. I would probably suggest to you is that, there's a lot of electronic discovery that needs to probably continue, line up whether these emails, and it might be suggestive here, are ones that are new to them, because obviously if they were the old ones, they would have fallen underneath what Director Comey had at his press conference, saying that he didn't feel there was enough there to go forward with an indictment. So I'd probably suggest to you is that there's some new information, and that new information that needs to be fully evolved and investigated.
But who would actually do the investigation? I assume that in order to avoid having to get people up to speed, you'd assign the same agents that were involved in the last investigation, correct?
You'd bring the same people who were very familiar with it, so you don't have a learning curve. That's exactly right. And
the new stuff that they were getting from Anthony Weiner, that was a totally separate investigation. Do they combine forces now?
Yeah, what they'll do is they'll bring the people in who had familiarity with the previous investigation on Secretary Clinton's emails, and kind of marry that up with the team that is working on the other investigation that's suggested here against Mr. Weiner. So it is a bringing those forces together internally. It's not very difficult. It's kind of happens all the time when there is this kind of intersection.
Well, one thing that doesn't happen all the time, Bill, is for an FBI case like this to be reopened the way it has been reopened. Can you think of obviously there's no precedent for a candidate for president to be under the spotlight like this, but about reopening a case, does that often lead to an indictment or not? That's always isn't that the trick question here? Is that what happens? What really results from this investigation? I would just tell you is that it's not unusual for the FBI to reopen investigation. In fact, most investigations, once concluded, have a line at the very bottom is that this is closed pending further information or relevant data that may suggest reopening it. So the fact of the matter, it's become so public because with Director Comey having to testify before Congress, he had this duty to inform, and that therefore, gets a lot of attention. Otherwise, these investigations are sometimes open and no one knows, if in fact they are. They don't have to report it to anyone. In this case, he had to.
He sure did, and we all know about it now. Bill Daley, thank you very much. Appreciate it.